We're back for another Chris McPherson Show Daily Dose, talking Aussie cricket, and the Aussie cricket season has kicked off. The summer is underway. You got underway overnight in Darwin, up there at the Marara ground, as Australia played against South Africa in the first of a white ball series that will see them play T20s and one days across Northern Australia. The first two of those T20s will be hosted in Darwin, and it was the Aussies who were sent in to bat in this one. And look, it certainly raised some questions when they went hard early. They certainly got plenty of runs on the board, but they also lost plenty of wickets. They were 4 for 70 odd at the end of the power play. They lost another couple of quick wickets after that, with Mitch Owen and Glenn Maxwell departing for 2 and 1 respectively. A little bit of a tally from Cameron Green added some respectability to that early score. But it was a Tim David sole knock, with the assistance of a few of the bowling attack just hanging in there, most notably Ben Dwarshuis and Nathan Ellis, allowed him to manage the score along. And it did see that we got down to David falling at 8 for 164. He got 83 off his 52 balls, 8 sixes, 4 fours. The Aussies managed to battle on before the last wicket fell, with Nathan Ellis run out on the final ball of the innings to see Australia all out for 178. Interestingly enough, it's the first time in T20 internationals that South Africa have bowled out the Aussies, which is quite a surprising statistic for me. But yeah, it's interesting to ask, is it Aussie BAZ ball the way we went about this? When you have a look that, almost 80% of our runs had come in the power play. That then forced us to rejig and reconsider. And then you saw over those next sort of 2 overs, we didn't get too many runs. And then David drove that pace and the tempo from there. And well done to Adam Zampa, ably assisting Nathan Ellis and Ben Dwarshuis as they got their runs done. But eventually, as we well know, those wickets fell and Australia 178. You felt it might have been a little bit shy of the par score. Hats off have to go to Quaina and Mapaka, the South African bowler, who took 4 for 20 from his 4 overs. Giso Rabada also did quite well, 2 for 29 from his 4. Some impressive bowling at times, some erroneous bowling at other times, but it was certainly it was interesting to watch, that's for sure. Tim David set this tone for his innings, though, when he came out and just bombed a ball off the first one he looked at. And KG Rabada was setting the pace early, taking those wickets, and well assisted by Mapaka. For the South Africans, they also got off to a quick start, but they were looking to play a little bit more conservatively, much more along the ground, chasing that 178. It looked like it was going to pay dividends. They took 12 off the first over before Aidan Markram fell on the final ball of that over to give Josh Hazlewood his first wicket. Again, we then saw Luandre Pretorius, the young South African gun. I tell you what, he's going to be one to watch. All of his teen years already, and looking very comfortable. But he just scooped one to Mitch Owen and couldn't reel that in. So he went for 14 off 9. And the South Africans at that point, though, 2 for 40 off 4.4. So they were on target. Then the screws got tightened a bit. Dewald Brevis came out and disappeared again. He was gone for 2 from 6. And it then fell to what you thought was probably 2 of the best batters in the South African lineup, Stubbs and Rickleton, to do their job. They managed to get things moving. They got a good partnership. They batted together for about 8 overs, putting together 72 runs before Stubbs was caught behind when Josh Hazlewood came back on to bowl in the 15th over. And Stubbs just feathered one behind to Inglis. It was well taken. 37 off his 27 balls. At this point, there was still no sixes in the South African innings. When you think that the Australians took 13 sixes from their innings, it was quite surprising. And in the end, it actually ended up being Kagiso Rabada who hit the first 6 well into the innings when he came out. So that was certainly an interesting piece. We didn't see that until the somewhere around the 16th, 17th over that first 6, but Lind, Bosch both departed cheaply. Sanuran Muthusami as well. Adam Zampa caught him in front after he bowled Corbin Bosch. Some beautiful work with Zampa. He wasn't getting a lot of turn with the dew and not a lot in the deck for the spinners, but just did really well to vary his pace and lull the guys in with some variable bounce to take a couple of wickets. The wickets kept falling. Ryan Rickleton was the sole hand. Kagiso Rabada came out and, as I said, just absolutely bombed 1 for 6, which gave Rickleton a bit of comeuppance, and he decided to get going. But then once he fell, 20 20th over, it was all done. I mean, realistically, it was all but done at that point anyway. They were chasing quite a score still, and they ended up falling with Rabada out off the final delivery of the match. They were 9 for 161, still the one wicket up their sleeve with Lungi Nagidi not required to bat, but again, fell a little short there. It does suggest, though, that there's plenty of contest in this next game. I think batting first at Marara is going to be a key piece, but it's a strong South African bowling lineup. They've got some power in their batting. It didn't quite fire. Markram falling early hurt them, but equally the Aussies probably left a bit in the sheds by how aggressive they went. It does lead to the question of, is that super aggressive batting from the get-go, despite the wickets falling, the way to go? Obviously, everyone in that team, when you have a look at that top 7, Marsh, Head, Inglis, Green, David, Owen, Maxwell, all big hitters, but it really forces us to pump the brakes. Did we get away with one there, the Aussies? I think so. Again, Josh Hazlewood stepping up and getting the job done with his wickets certainly assisted that. He ended up with 3 for 27 from his 4 overs. Ben Dwarsh 3 from 26 from his 4 as well. But it really sort of started to suggest that, had Markram got going a little bit longer, I think we would have been in real trouble. The South Africans needed to find top gear. The Aussies probably needed to find a way to sit in 3rd and 4th a bit more once they lost those couple of wickets. Maybe, the likes of Inglis and Green. David and Owen really kind of only know one way to go about things from what we've seen. So obviously that's probably where it sits. And, maybe pulling the brakes back once we lost that second wicket would have been Marsh and Green at that point. Potentially just slow things down a bit, maybe settle for 55 or 60 in the power play rather than chasing the mid-70s. But maybe we end up in the same result anyway. It's a lot of ifs and buts. It's a really curious puzzle as to what is the perfect solution. Is it, Aussie T20 BAZ ball, or is it just the way that we go about things now with an expectation that 200 is almost a pass score that you're going to have to try and chase? And that's what you need to do to go about getting it. Australia have averaged more than 10 in the power play for the last few years. And look, it's been consistently positive for them. This match was a 9th straight T20 international win for the Aussies, and that extends to being a record run for them. It certainly bodes well as we head towards the next T20 World Cup, but an interesting one. Tim David, the best for mine, narrowly pipping Josh Hazlewood with his effort. As for the South Africans, those figures for Mapaka and Rabada, really strong, both bowled really well. Some other question marks over the depth and breadth of the South African bowling attack. Lind and Bosch probably need to show us a little bit more. They were both very expensive. With the bat, obviously we saw Rickerton get 71, but it was somewhat pedestrian. He was only going at sort of a clip of about 110 for most of that innings, that late 6 and another couple of boundaries late in his innings. Jacked that up to nearly 130 to probably pad over and make it look a little bit better than it was. I think probably back to the drawing board for them. They're probably going to need to find, as I said, another gear. I'll be surprised if the team that wins the toss in Tuesday's game decides to bowl first. I expect them to bat first. Just seemed to be a little tough. Chasing once the ball got wet and heavy with the dew around up there in Darwin, dew and plenty of sweat getting into the ball. And you'd see the Aussies were very reluctant to change the ball, even though they were having trouble gripping it, just because they could see that it was getting harder and harder to score. It's an interesting one. It's a thick, strong outfield as well. So while it will run true, it will, force some work in terms of playing along the ground. So the South Africans are probably going to need to find some more of their hitting once they get in the next match if they're going to take that on. But the margin, just 17 runs, suggests that this one's going to be in the balance. We've got a couple more T20s to come. Then the one day is looking forward to seeing how that plays out across Darwin, Cairns and Mackay over the coming days. Speaking of the north of Australia, we also had the Australia A versus India A Women's Series. The Aussies got a clean sweep of that one. They won the first game by 13 runs and absolutely dominated India in the second game, winning by 114 runs. For India fought back in the final game, falling just 5 runs short of the target, losing by 4 runs to the Aussies. Notably, Alyssa Healy getting some starts in all of those games, but the Aussie bowling was, for mine, really impressive as well. We saw some really good efforts there. Sienna Ginger in the third game, 4 for 16 from her 4, and of course the ever reliable Kim Garth, 4 for 7 from her 3 overs in the second game. So really good there. A couple of half centuries through the series. Annika Leroy got a 50 not out in the first game at just over a run a ball, and Alyssa Healy 70 from 44 in that second game. Talia Wilson also stating her case with a 43. So we'll watch and wait. The India A tour continues on, similar to that men's series. They're going to have some one-day games now that will start later this week, and then they go into an unofficial test later on in August. So those games will all be played in Brisbane, the one-days and the test match over the next basically 2 weeks. That'll wrap up on the 24th, the unofficial test. So looking forward to seeing the next generation of Aussie women getting some more minutes as well into Alyssa Healy after a return from injury. But plenty of cricket to come. As I said, the next women's game on Wednesday. They've got one day as Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. As for the men, they will they'll head to another game, in Darwin on Tuesday night, Australian Eastern Time. Then they head to Cairns on Saturday, and then into the one-dayers, which will be Tuesday next week, Friday next week, and then the Sunday in Cairns, Mackay and Mackay. So a great chance for the cricket fans of Northern Australia to get behind it. Nearly 9,000 fans there last night in Darwin, so a real success, and great to see that the summer is getting underway in what is still technically winter, but more cricket is always great, and a great win for the Aussies, making it 9 on the trot. Tim David, the best of them, as I said, and let's see if they can make it 10 on the trot on Tuesday night.